students, let's proceed looking on another properties of carbohydrate. Reminding you, in the previous part we terminate by looking on the first property of carbohydrate, and that is solubility nature, which is found within carbohydrate. And also we have another property of this carbohydrate, and this is sweetness. So this sweetness is one among of the characteristics or property of carbohydrate. So how is it? So here we are saying that the simple sugars tend to be sweet. To be sweet tasting, which is characteristic of monosaccharides and some disaccharide. So tunasema kwamba hii carbohydrate au hizi carbohydrate zina sifa ya kuwa na sweet in taste. For instance, when you are talking about monosaccharide, a good example, you can have the glucose. You know, glucose, it is a sweet in taste, and that sweetness which is found within the glucose is that a property of carbohydrate. But also here they have said that some disaccharides. So there is some disaccharide that they contain this sweet taste in their structure. For example, we are talking about sucrose. Sucrose is one example of disaccharide. Also, it has it exhibits that characteristics, that is sweetness, which is found within that structure. But also we have another characteristic or property of carbohydrate, and this is energy source. So simply we are saying that carbohydrates are primarily the source of energy for living organisms. So they can be quickly metabolized to release energy. So tunasema kwamba most of the carbohydrates, they are energy source. They have a lot of energy. Meaning that these carbohydrates, they are primarily source of energy in living organism. Hizi form zote za carbohydrate, either iwe polysaccharide, monosaccharide au disaccharide, zote hizi zina characteristics or property of providing energy. Why is it providing a lot of energy? Because of this ability to be quickly metabolized to release energy. A good example, in normal situation, that is mtu pale ambapo anaishiwa nguvu, anashauriwa apate glucose ili apate nguvu kwa urahisi zaidi. So why anashauriwa atake in glucose? Is because glucose, they are quickly metabolized to release energy within the body of organism, and thus become the property of this carbohydrate. And also we have another property of carbohydrate, and here it is the storage. So here simply we can say that a polysaccharide like starch, glycogen serve as energy reserves in plant and animal respectively. So also carbohydrate, they are primarily source of carbohydrate. They primarily source of, storage of food in different kind of organism. And here we are talking about plants and animal. In plants we have starch. Starch is a polysaccharide. Together with that glycogen also is a polysaccharide. So starch, which is found within a plant, it tends to store food for the adverse condition of a plant. But also within the body of living organism, here we are talking about animals, they tend to store their energy in the form of storage, which is found in the body of any animals. So that is the characteristics or the property of this carbohydrate. We have another property of carbohydrate, and here we can say that is structural role. Structural role. So how? Here we are saying that certain carbohydrates like cellulose provide structural integrity to plant cell wall. Structural role. To preserve or to prevent the war of a plant cell. For instance, here ameongelea hii structure ya carbohydrate ambayo inaitwa cellulose. Cellulose ni carbohydrate ambayo inapatikana on the structure of a plant cell wall. Meaning that it tends to protect against any, if there is any damage on the outside environment, this structural support, that is the cellulose, they work upon it. So that's become the property of these carbohydrates, since they tend to provide a structural role in a plant cell. And now let's see the classes of carbohydrate. We have almost, we can say that the carbohydrates can be classified according to the basic sugar or saccharide units present in a molecule. So carbohydrate unaweza ukaiclassify kwa maana kwamba imegawanyika kupitia makundi mbalimbali is according to the number of basic sugar which is found within that structure, or the number of saccharide units present in each molecule. And by saying that we have almost 3 classes of carbohydrate. And the first class of carbohydrate here, it is a monosaccharide. The second class, it is known as disaccharide, but the last, it is the polysaccharide. So we're going to discuss one after another, and we're going to see the example of each class which is found within the carbohydrate. And now let's see this diagram or this picture which shows the classes of carbohydrates. So simply here you can see we have disaccharide, monosaccharide, the type which is or the type of class, it is termed as the monosaccharide. And examples of this monosaccharide include fructose, glucose, and galactose. So we have to know where is this fructose, glucose, and galactose they are found, or the source of those 3 monosaccharides. And simply here you can see the source of fructose is from a sweet fruit and honey. So the sweetness which is found within the honey and the sweet fruit, for instance, orange, the ripening mangoes, and so many ripening fruits. Those tasty or those sweet in taste, they are, we can tell or we can call it as the fructose. And also we have another example of this monosaccharide, that is glucose. And the glucose also come from, or its source is fruity such as grapes, coconuts, and sweet potatoes. So through these sources is where now you can find a lot of glucose. So you can find it in the grapes, coconut water, and sweet potatoes. So ndipo ambapo ni area ambayo sasa unaweza ukaifind this carbohydrate ambayo tunaita glucose. And also when we have another example of monosaccharide, that is galactose. So the main source of galactose is from milk and dairy products. So through those sources where now you can find you can find this galactose as a monosaccharide. But also we have another class of carbohydrate or another type of carbohydrate, and that is disaccharide. Whereby in the disaccharide, examples of it, now we have the sucrose, we have lactose, we have maltose. All of them, they are disaccharides. So what are the source now of each example? So by starting with the sucrose, we have a source that is the sugarcane and carrots. But also in the lactose, we have a milk. And in the maltose, we have maltes such as the radicals of germinating cells. So now those are the sources of these examples of disaccharide. That is the sucrose, lactose, and the maltose. Make sure that you know examples of these disaccharides with their source, because it is very important. And also we have the last type or the last class of this carbohydrate, and this is polysaccharide. This polysaccharide, example of the polysaccharide, we have starch, we have cellulose, we have chitin. So in the starch is where now you can find the yam, Irish potatoes, we have sweet potatoes, and green banana. So those are the source of starch. But also we have another example of polysaccharide, that is cellulose. The cellulose, its source is from the cell wall of various plants. So you can find the cellulose in the cell wall of various plants. So any kind of plant or any plant in their cell wall, they consist of this polysaccharide, that is a cellulose. But the last here we have the chitin. So the source of the chitin is in the cell wall of the fungal hyphae and the skeletal of the arthropods such as insects, crabs and the prawns. So hapa unaweza ukaona kwa maana kwamba kwenye kila example kwenye kila type or class of polysaccharide, make sure that you know the example and the source of each example, that is in the type of the carbohydrate in general. So my students, let's end here, but I would like to invite you, my student, in the next session, whereby we are going to discuss now in details what is this monosaccharide and examples of it, what are the components which made now this each example of monosaccharide and so on. So, and by saying so, this marks the end of our today's session. So thank you for your attention and for following us, Educare TZ. Bye bye. Have a nice moment.